Back on the slash.
Whoppacha.
I mean, the fuel.
You hadn't ridden a high pivot till you came to QuarterHP, right?
Getting to the point where I was just a little bit scared out there. In 2024, Harriet Harnden won the Enduro World Cup overall on this, a 6th generation Trek Slash. So what's Trek's fastest Enduro bike? Well, it's not that simple, because now there are 2. Over the summer, Trek launched their new Fuel platform, a bike that could do it all. 3 models in one, all sharing the same frame, then swapping out links to suit. Transforming into the Fuel EX trail bike, the Fuel MX Mullet, and the Fuel LX 29er Enduro bike, like we have here, which left us both intrigued and confused. Besides boring but important reasons like stock management and appealing to dealerships, why would Trek want 2 bikes doing the same thing in their lineup? I can't imagine Trek wants you to hop on their latest Enduro bike with the feeling of déjà vu.
Riding that Trek Enduro bike today? Riding that Trek Enduro bike today?
Different bike, actually.
Riding that Trek Enduro bike today?
Do you ever have déjà vu?
No, but we do have a great Ethiopian.
Never mind. Having both these bikes side by side, it is apparent just how similar they are. Both with 170 mil of front travel and a head angle only 0.1 degrees apart, and just 10 mil of difference in the rear. The main distinction is that big ol' idler pulley. Despite what you might think, in Enduro, the burliest bike isn't always the fastest, and we've seen that at play more and more with riders choosing to race their trail bikes over their Enduro bikes, and to much acclaim. We wondered, could the LX potentially collect the scalp of the Slash? Well, it seems that Trek didn't want us to know the answer, because at the end of 2024, they closed their World Cup Enduro team for good. Armed with a World Cup racer, worthy trails, and a stopwatch, we took it upon ourselves as low pivot truthers to find out. Oh, and if you can't get enough of the tech and how we make our bikes the absolute fastest, tune in to our Patreon to get a deep dive on these, as well as every other bike we test. All right, Henry, it's a beautiful day. I'm gonna ride the test track that I take all our QuarterHP bikes on and see how they stack up against each other. The format that I want to do for this test is to go back and forth between the 2 bikes every lap, which I think could potentially be a little bit confusing, but because we have that first section of track to kind of get a feel for each bike before we get to our test lap, that'll be a nice little warm-up. So
do you think with this idea today of finding the fastest time in mind, that's the holy grail? What happens if the LX is faster than the Slash? Have Trek sold themselves short?
I mean, I don't think Trek have sold themselves short. I think they've just designed another bike that they think people want and people will buy, and that could be true for me. I don't really care about all that. I just want the most comfortable bike, but also the fastest bike. And if those things are mutually exclusive, then maybe we'll find that out today, but maybe they're not, and maybe one bike is both of those things for me. Henry, you're supposed to avoid the potholes, not hit them, man.
That is lap 1 done. Let's see how he's getting on. How was that?
That was something, Henry. That was something.
3 words.
Trails are...
Well, maybe perfect remedy is the high pivot.
So obviously I've already done quite a few laps on both these bikes. And although they look very similar, they actually ride completely different. And it's surprising me how, even with such a similar setup, same fork, same cockpit, same pedals, cranks, drivetrain, suspension, how different they can be. And I still haven't felt nearly as comfortable on this bike as I have this bike. So I'm excited to ride these trails, which are in pretty haggard condition, on the high pivot and see how it goes.
Do you think that on that trail in that condition, comfort equals speed to an extent?
For sure.
I just love the idea that a trail gets so bad that it makes you turn into have my preferences, because that's what I always talk about, right?
Yeah, it is getting to the point where I was just a little bit scared out there.
Welcome to my world, motherfucker.
Because of the conditions, I want there to be a little bit more grip. So I'm gonna open up the shock a little bit. But first, we're gonna go ride this one, see how it goes.
You had a long time of riding loads of obviously really fast bikes that are optimized for you, but you hadn't ridden a high pivot till you came to QuarterHP, right?
Yeah, so this is actually the first high pivot bike I've ever ridden, the Trek Slash. I had these preconceived notions of how a high pivot was going to feel. I thought it was going to be a bit sluggish, kind of vague feeling, maybe like because the rear axle grows and shrinks as the suspension goes through its travel, I thought it would kind of push you over the front and then over the back in weird ways. And honestly, I've got none of that with the Trek Slash. That was pretty good. Pretty good. I think just like my expectations were, that bike just suits me a little bit more on the rough, sketchy trails of Squamish in November. However, once I got onto Half Nelson and started to sprint and try and generate speed on our flow section of the test lap, it did feel pretty sluggish.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let's go back to the top and swap some more bikes. Back on the Slash.
Whoop-a-cha.
I mean, the fuel.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Third time's the charm.
We've run out of treats in the car.
That was interesting. So I've basically gotten 2 laps on both bikes.
Yeah.
That was the third. The first 2 were kind of warm-ups. And now going to the third lap on this one, actually, it started to feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Some things that I did notice.
Yeah.
Definitely a little bit more peppy on the flatter, smooth stuff, like when I'm sprinting on Half Nelson. It has the tendency to want to like nip me in the butt with the rear wheel a little bit more, even though the rear end on that is pretty similar.
They do have a very different characteristic in terms of anti-rise, though. And when you're bracing against the bike, how it comes into its stroke, because you might think, oh, but it goes deeper into its stroke, which the Slash does. Maybe that would get closer, but you might actually be able to brace more effectively because there's more grip or more chassis stability, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe not using as much of its travel as well. But I'd like to check the time on that lap and go back and see if I can beat it on that one.
Perfect. So, last lap, you were pretty comfortable on the fuel. Do you think you can go fast on the Slash, though?
I think so. I hope so.
You kind of need to.
I do. I do need
What does
to.
it mean? Cool. Well, you're the strong lad. You can get the bike off. I will see you at the bottom.
Well, Henry, both these green bikes, they're good gals. They're good gals. The Slash here, she's my best gal.
Yeah?
For sure.
Why?
Well, just looking at the times, roughly, just back there, I did a 3:33 on that bike, which is right in line with all my fast laps on various bikes. I think the Raw was a 33. The Priority, I think, was a 34. Obviously, the Pivot was a 29.
Okay, so fast.
Fast. But roughly looking at the time I just put down, I think I'm in that 29 range.
And it's not...
And it is bad.
Yeah.
It's not good right now, and I'm getting really nice sensations out of this bike. Usually in a test like this, you go, you know, lap after lap, and you just keep chipping the time down. But that was an exceptional lap. And I really don't know if I'm just gonna be able to go and beat it just because I've gotten more track time after riding that bike.
Because I think it would show, which we speak about so often, is that like, the comfort makes bike riding nice, but doesn't necessarily make it fast. Mm-hmm. Sometimes scary bikes are kind of, not that this bike's scary, but you know what I mean? Like, the unsettled setup can actually go really quickly.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna do another lap on this. I think I'm gonna give it my all. I really don't think I can beat that time, but if I do, I'll go back to the Slash and see if I can go even faster.
Okay.
We just keep going.
We just keep on going.
Keep on going.
And?
Well, first off, I gotta say that was a great day of riding bikes. Mm-hmm. I started out pretty uncomfortable with that trail and its conditions. I ended up going pretty fast.
Nice.
That was fun. So, however, this bike did end up going just a touch slower. Mm-hmm. On the flow trail, half Nelson, it did feel really good compared to that bike. It felt like I was generating speed in the corners rather than maintaining speed, which was a really cool feeling. In some sections, I actually like having that little bit of chain tug.
Almost,
yeah, it really does. It really does give you this drive out of the corner with sacrificing a little bit of comfort on the like braking bumps and holes and G-outs. It also felt like the tires were able to cut into those hard pack corners just a little bit more, whereas that I think was just kind of like, I don't know, squidging out a little bit.
Really suspended on a bike like that, whereas not necessarily driving in the same way.
But in the end, it went a little bit slower.
Well, you were theorizing just at the top there that with these testing days, you often go faster and faster and faster. So in its final form, it might actually be in its most compelling because you didn't...
Exactly. I gave this bike the benefit of the doubt in going last, giving it the most opportunity to go fast.
My last question would be, what pedal kickback rating would you give this?
I wouldn't give it... It's not too bad.
So, we need to go back and crunch some times.
We do.
Big day riding, though.
Yeah, that was awesome. So the results are in. And today, on this track, with this guy at the helm, the Slash went faster. Not only did it go faster, but it actually went the fastest of any of the bikes that we've tested here at QuarterHP. Now we know the high pivot under the right designer can be a capable platform. Hattie Harnden has won plenty aboard hers. Martin Mays was massively successful aboard his. And Reese Werner won one of the most physical races ever in Pietra Ligure. But a whole lot more World Cups were won on the good old-fashioned low pivot. So many more, in fact, that in my mind, as someone who knew not the ways of the high pivot before riding the Slash, it was not the bike to take to the racetrack. Honestly, I thought it was for people like Henry who just wanted a magic carpet ride. Before riding either of these bikes though, I thought that the Fuel LX might just have the edge of all-out speed. Once I got on these bikes, right from the get-go, the Slash and I had a certain connection that I never quite felt with the Fuel. Over the course of today, I did gain a ton of confidence riding the Fuel LX on our test track, but the times never quite reflected that. And the Slash? Well, I never even had to think about it. It just went fast. When Trek launched the Fuel, adjustability and adaptability were high on the menu. But riding these bikes over some back-to-back testing, the similarities stop with their looks and their head tube badges. The delta in time goes to show that specificity of design has its place too. Yes, if you want one bike to morph into 3, then a platform like the Fuel might represent real value. But if you want the single most confidence-inspiring and fast enduro bike you can buy, then you might want something else. You don't have to look very far, but you might have to do a double take, because Trek already makes it. Don't double take that subscribe button though, just hit it. It really helps. Thanks for watching.